Life Check Yourself with Erin Washington. You can't schedule healing, but you can choose to rise. Ladies, welcome back to another fantastical episode of Life Check Yourself. Today's guest is Erin Washington. I met her because I got to be on her amazing podcast, Therapy. And it was so fun because basically she was like, coach me, tell me, help me. And I was like, wait, you guys need to meet her because she is a really cool example of what it looks like to reinvent your life. And her story of reinvention is so inspirational. It's I had it all, except it looks great on the outside, but I'm suffering on the inside. And so I'm super excited for her to share her story and talk to you about body and weight and food issues and divorce and co-parenting and dating when you're a grown-ass woman with kids. So it's going to be super fun. So welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
So give everyone like the high level, what was your life like before the reinvention, and just to set the stage for us all.
I struggled with body image and multiple eating disorders for over a decade and kind of came out of it a bit. I wasn't doing the behaviors, but I was still like severely restricting, had no self-worth. I was 24 when I met my husband, who was in the prime of his career in the NFL. He was a Pro Bowl linebacker. And I have therapized this, that he was shiny, and it validated me to be his girlfriend because he picked me. So I'm shiny by association, and I still love him. We're in the middle of a divorce, but, we met when I was just in a very different version of myself, and we've been together almost 20 years. And my evolution kind of happened after I had my second child. I believe I was 37, 38, when finally, after 20 years of restricting, again, honestly, bulimia, anorexia, doing all the things to find my physical ideal, I found it at 38 after having two kids by actually respecting my body, listening to my hunger cues, having daily indulgences, and getting out of all the restriction. So I said, I'm going to write a book to women working out and not seeing results. You're not eating enough, you're not lifting, and you're too much restriction. And if you have the bad thing, then you're going to go off the wagon and start all over. So I called my plan Squats and Margaritas, and I wrote a book. And I launched the book, and then COVID hit, and I had this like fancy little book party. I had a little bit of a following, like not much. And I started going live during the pandemic and just honestly talking to other moms like this, like, what in the hell am I supposed to do when I have a 2 and a 4-year-old and the playgrounds are closed and the schools are closed and the gyms are closed? What is everybody doing? And moms would go live with me and be like, I remember this lady was like, scavenger hunt, take them outside and they have to find a stop sign and a pine cone. And I'm like, yes.
Great idea.
It was like magic, and we couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't have a drink together. It was lockdown. So I said, every week, every Thursday, pour a cocktail, I'll go live and we'll talk about best practices for momming in a pandemic. And my book was out already. So I called this Squats and Margaritas. And I noticed like people were watching it. Like I remember when I had 5,000 people on the Instagram live, and I was like, oh, nobody else has anything to do. Like it was a perfect time for something like to launch. And a bunch of the Real Housewives, they don't have anything to do. I would ask them to go live. So they would. So I was like booking guests, and it became this little talk show. Unbeknownst to me, a program director at the #1 radio station in DC was watching me every week. And one day after one of my lives, she messaged me and said, this is a show and we want to hire you to do a podcast. We'll send you the equipment. So it is the most favorite thing I've ever done. It was nothing I sought out. I never would have auditioned to be a podcast host. And I say to women, like, if you just put yourself out into the world authentically and organically as you are, again, it wasn't an audition. She saw something before I even saw it. So I launched Squats and Margaritas podcast, and then started to be a little more margarita heavy, not so much balance. And after having a very successful podcast where I had Katie Couric and Gabby Bernstein and like these big guests, I decided to pivot to a mental health focus because I realized that most of my conversations were me doing live therapy, going through what I'm going through, which is looking at my drinking. As you mentioned, I'm in the middle of a divorce, co-parenting, I have OCD. So I bring mental health professionals or coaches on and have them live coach me. And the premise of that is that hopefully a woman can listen and hear my story and my struggles and feel seen and less alone and get the answers without having to be vulnerable herself.
I love this. I mean, I love every single thing about what you just said.
You do?
I do. And I think it's really also, I just have to shout out, like people will say, especially if they're very successful and they're private, I don't like being in groups, or I don't want to be in a group. I want the personal trainer, or I want the one-on-one, whatever. And they're really missing out, because what you're doing on your show, what you did on your Instagram lives, it's the power of the group, because one woman's struggle is every woman's struggle. And one of the things I see out there, I call it terminal uniqueness, where someone's like, mine is the worst. Like, you don't know, like mine is the worst you've ever seen. And there's so much shame around it. And when you can be in that group setting and hear other people struggle, you're like, oh, God, like I'm normal and I'm not alone.
You said the word is shame. And I had so much shame around, for me, it was my bulimia. Like I couldn't think of anything more gross than that. And I stopped doing it, but I didn't ever tell anyone about it. And I was going to my grave with it, Marnie. And I will say, I have found so much profound purpose out of that dark time. And if anybody is feeling like they're terminal uniqueness and it's only me, the amount of DMs I got from women that were like, me too, you're the only person I've told. And they told me because I was vulnerable first. My husband doesn't know. I found a community through just me being open and authentic. And that big thing, whatever it is for you, I'll give you a hint. It's whatever you're thinking of right now. You have to get in there and you have to tell someone or write it down. You don't have to write a book, but get it off of you. And it's less scary. Like I talk about bulimia very casually now because it's not as heavy. When it was a secret, it was the most shameful thing. So whatever it is, it could have been something that happened to you or happened in your past that you're still holding on to and hoping that nobody finds out about. Your purpose could come out of that. And when you get in there and decide to share it and get it off you, you can create a community of other people who are still in that mess. And I found this purpose in this like wellness brand as a person that used to throw up their food. So it's like, right. if you have not, I didn't see this coming. It doesn't make any sense, but it's like, look at, if you haven't found profound purpose in what you're doing, and if you're questioning it, you haven't. Like I've never been more lit up by something. If you haven't found that, look at that dark stuff, because so much purpose comes out of pain, and then it makes it all meaningful. It's like, oh, that's why I went through that, to be able to come out on the other side. And I forgot to mention, I even took it a step further and created a nonprofit for teen girls struggling with body image and self-worth, because I didn't have anything like that. And I didn't trust, I don't want to talk to my mom. I would be like, you don't get it. And nothing wrong with therapy. I go to therapy, but I just pictured a man with a clipboard, like, tell me about your eating disorders.
Right.
Like,
what? No, never.
Yes. But I would have talked to a woman like me in her 40s that was like, hey, me too. I struggle with the same exact thing. I get it. My guard would have come down. And here's how I came out on the other side. So now I provide mentorship, and all of it came from the mess. And now it makes sense. Like I had to go through it so that I have this story and people can trust. And at our events, like these girls, I bring in other women. I talk about eating disorder recovery. They talk about, being in like domestic violence or things that they put up with, not valuing themselves. And what would you have told yourself when you were a teenager? And once we share, it's like you see them their guard goes down, and then they ask the questions because they feel safe with us. And I created something that I sure could have used when I was in the mess, and it all came out of the mess.
Yeah, I think that's the question. People are always thinking like, why is this happening to me? Right? Like that feeling trapped. And if you can listen to this show or Erin's show and hear and just understand that the light is there, you just have to like pull. I'm sitting here looking at blinds. You just have to like pull the blind. There's light out there, right? But you've decided to like put yourself in the dark little little hole. And so I think this is I want to ask you about everything.
Yeah.
So let's talk about eating disorders for a minute.
Okay.
So I was a compulsive overeater and a binge eater, and I was in the 12-step program for that. So I was the girl who would look at the anorexics and the bulimics and be like, oh, why can't I do that?
Can I say something about that? You want me to blow your mind?
If I was better, I could starve. I beat myself up for not being able to restrict.
I will blow your mind right now. I was the heaviest I've ever been in my life when I was bulimic. People think you throw up your food, you must be thin. But what you're actually doing is throwing off all of your hormones, and you're bloated and puffy. And nobody was thinking eating disorder because I was heavier and puffy, but bulimia, at least for me, never made me thin. So just so you know, when you're looking at something that was bulimic, I was heavier, the heaviest I've ever been.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? But that's the story that we have in our mind is, if I could just be this, then I would be. So for you, what was the belief that you had? If I could just have my body this certain way, then I will. What was that for you?
Thin. If I was thin, then I was worthy and acceptable. And I recently in therapy have discovered she was like, so picture that body, that thin, perfect body. And I'm like high school. Marnie, I was homecoming queen and prom queen. I was captain of the soccer team. So you'd think, and I was thin and I have all the things. She's like, so how did you feel? And I was like, I was miserable.
Right.
I was anorexic. So she's like, so it's not if this then, because you were thin and you were miserable. And now it's I finally found true peace and comfortability in my body in my early 40s. And I'm not the thin that I was striving to be. And I don't even think about it anymore. It's not I'm not counting calories and thinking of when I can get a workout in and pulling up menus before I go out to eat, when everything that I did in my life was striving towards a physical ideal. I never found it. And when I just calm down, I believe your body will go to a set point that you can easily maintain, because that's where it's supposed to be. And if you're doing all these other things in pursuit of thin being the ideal and the way, I've been thin. I was miserable, not from the outside. I had a crown and I had a state championship medal. Right. And I was also a firstborn perfectionist, and Marnie, I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't know what I would do if I couldn't be able to say, but I was prom queen, homecoming queen. I validated myself by titles and things. And then again, my husband played in the NFL, all of this until my late 30s, when I finally came to self-acceptance. It was all about, I never found intrinsic value. And even in therapy, my therapist would be like, well, tell me about you. What's great about you? And I was like, I do all these. She's like, nothing about what you do. And I'm like, well, I'm a great mom. She goes, take mom out of it. And I was like I couldn't, if you take away my things that I do, it was very hard for me to be and we've gotten there. I believe I'm witty and I'm a great friend and I'm very considerate and empathetic. And that's been a process because I couldn't say it. I kept trying to I cleaned the house today. I did all these things. I'm a good mother. And it was all about tasks. And that's how I value it.
Yeah. And I think that as women that we start to merge those things into one, right? We believe we are the counters that are clean. We believe we are the,
yes.
My kids, when they open their lunch, on the school trip, they have, carrots and not,
yes,
chips or whatever it is. Right. And then we're passing it on, which is even more fucked up.
Oh,
so let me ask you this. So how old are your kids now? I don't remember.
9 and 6.
Okay. So how do you feel like this has changed the way you parent now that you love yourself so much more?
You could not have teed that up better for me. This is what I speak on. I motivational speak on toxic traits that you're modeling. And what I'm so cognizant of now, there will be no scale in our home. I was raised, I love my mom. She was doing the best she could and with what she saw, but she would get on the scale every day and her reaction, yes, or, ugh. And all that's telling your children is like, oh, we step on a little machine and that tells us if we're happy or sad.
Yeah.
Because your value, and you don't think about it because moms get this part right. They're like, no, my daughter knows. I tell her every day she's so strong and beautiful and kind. But what are you saying to you? Because she is watching you. So I do not criticize myself in front of her. I don't step on a scale. Going on a diet before a big event. Like I had a big TV thing recently, and typically it would have been like, I gotta get in shape, or just getting in shape for the summer. Like I have to lose weight for swimsuit season. Like that's the kind of things that my mom would say. And all you're doing is showing them that their body as it is not worthy, and it has to be smaller to go to this event or to be in a bathing suit. And it's these little things. And again, you're thinking about what you're saying to them and not what you're modeling. They're going to watch what you're doing and model that. What did I think of? Physical compliments. My daughter is stunning. I don't tell her that. I hope that she sees her worth, but I don't want it to be about her physical attributes. So I will choke that down. She'll be walking around the corner and I'm like, I'm like, you are so strong. You are so kind and smart. You're such a good friend, because there's going to be a day where she wakes up and isn't feeling beautiful. And if that's how she derives her value, like her mother did, then she's going to feel unworthy. So there are little things like that. Toxic traits of like my eating disorders. I was told clean my plate, and it didn't matter if you were stuffed or not, but I would catch my kids being like, can I be done? Which is they're eating intuitively, like,
right.
I'm full.
I forgot about that. Can I be done?
Can I be done? And I'm like, my knee jerk reaction, what I got was like, no, clean your plate. And you can take it another step, clean your plate to get a treat. So I don't make food like
a reward.
Yeah. Right. It's food is very much neutral. It is fuel. If my daughter wants something that would be considered a treat, it's never off limits because it just makes it more binge worthy. But I say, how does it make your tummy feel? Like she wants a Chick-fil-A cookie, which is the size of your head. She's like, can I have the whole thing? And I'm like, you can't. I don't know how that's going to make your tummy feel. And so I don't say it's bad or good because it just puts it on a pedestal. And I want everything to be neutral. So I'm very cognizant of how I present myself, how I talk about myself. And any mom listening, if you think it's fine because you're telling them how beautiful and strong, they're watching you. And I always say, if you wouldn't say it to your daughter, stop saying it to you.
Yeah, that's such. So my kids are 29, 20, almost 27 and 23, which is like insane.
Impossible.
I know, 3 daughters. And now, like, if I do say some stuff like that, they'll be like, you want us to be good, feel good about our bodies. And you need to like, why are you saying that? You're beautiful. You're strong, all this stuff.
They check you.
Like, they do, I think I did like on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being best. I probably did like a 6. I think I could have done better.
That's the other part. You got to give yourself compassion, give yourself grace. Cause it's like, oh my God, someone's listening. Like I weighed myself this morning. Everyone's doing the best that they can. So you just have to like listen to podcasts, get these little tips, try to infuse it into your life, but don't hold yourself to this perfectionism standard, because then it's back into the mess of it's not perfect. And it's not just like how I used to live. So it's a learning curve for me to be compassionate, but I just heard you say I could have been.
Right. No, I know. Grace. It's so right. It's hard. So it's just so interesting now that they're wise and adult, and
yes.
They call me out on stuff. And so it's super, and I'm so great. I raised kids that have the emotional intelligence that they can give me that feedback in a loving way, not like a sassy, bitchy way.
Yes.
You guys are listening, which you're probably not, but shout out. So let's talk about your relationship.
Yes.
Okay. So, because I was, for 12, 13, 14 years, I focused only on helping women in relationships. And there is, no matter what age, there is this idea that if we get this guy who has these things, my friend jokes it's the 3 6s, like the 6-pack, over 6 foot, over 6 figures kind of a thing, right? Then you are taking that person and you are making their, like you said, by association, then that means you are worthy. What have you learned about that you are bringing into your dating now?
First of all, there's no dating now. You're
not
awkward.
ready. Erin is not ready.
I am awkward AF. I finally, I don't know if I want to put this in. Let's say I'm attracted to somebody. I turn into a very strange woman when I like somebody. Like, I don't know. I start saying very weird things. I'm also, again, trying not to
what's weird? Define weird.
I just start asking weird questions. Like, I feel so confident in who I am now. Like, in my it's been 2 years since my husband left. And just in that single life. And I love who I am. And I'm very like comfortable around people. But if it's someone I'm attracted to that is like a romantic option, I get very in my head and I present this very awkward too in my head person. And I think too, with my sobriety journey, let's just say this, met someone and I'm stone cold sober in my head and like thinking about everything that I'm saying. And I feel like that's making it even more awkward. But if I don't like somebody, then they're going to like me because I'm just normal. Like, I'm just my own self. But the person that I like never gets that girl. I get very in my head and like because I've never been on a date since I was 24 because I've been with him. So I don't know how to, like flirt or show interest without being super awkward. And I see it. It's not like I'm like, no, I'm doing great. No, I'm not doing great, but I don't know how to be how I normally am around someone I'm attracted to. So sorry, that's to the left. I'm not dating.
No, but this is a huge thing. So I know that when I went through my divorce, I was married for 17 years to my first husband, who's the dad of my amazing kids. And I just remember having this idea of like, it took me so long to love myself, like get over it and all of those things. And then I remember just thinking like, well, why would if I date, I'll just become who I was. Like I don't want to become who I was, right? Where I gave my power and I had no boundaries and I was like, are you happy now? Are you happy now?
Yes.
And so I was just so scared to date because I didn't trust the new me, the real me would show up when there was another human in the playing field. Like there was only room in the confidence container for one. I wasn't sure if there could hold two people. So I'm just sharing that with you because I think where you are is very normal. Because it's really hard to know who you are in that way when the way you were before isn't who you are now. So you don't really know who your flirty, feminine, coupled personage is yet.
But the exciting part about it is I've never dated as my authentic self.
Yes.
Because I owned that I was projecting what I thought my ex wanted because I wanted him to pick me. And I feel like everybody does that to an extent, but like part of it was projection and part of it was really not knowing who I was. Like I never saw any of this coming. I was coming out of eating disorders and was never going to talk about that. And honestly told him, I just want to be a stay-at-home mom. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I had no career ambitions. So when I stepped into that, like things got, I don't know. It was like, he wasn't I will say me as I am now, he would have never been attracted to. Our dynamic worked because I'm too empowered and I was just kind of on his arm and I didn't really have a lot of opinions and it's embarrassing to like say it now, but who he met at 24 is not here anymore. And when I evolved and finally found who I truly am and am myself, it's truly not aligned. And it's so unfortunate because we have 2 kids and we haven't even finalized it yet because I was going back and forth like he's struggling because he's retired and he just needs to find himself. But I wasn't feeling validated by anything that I was doing. And it's not like I don't know. I would prefer that my romantic partner validated me and I don't need it, but it was disappointing that if like I would have a big thing happen, like I want to be able to like run to my person to tell him. And I would start to feel like I had to dull it. I had to make it smaller. And if you're doing that in a relationship, like it's just, that can't be your person. If you cannot step fully into, or someone not wanting you to shine brighter, like look at that. And I don't know. I had a lot of noise about vows. I made vows, so I have to make this work. And I felt like I was the only one working. And at some point, I couldn't do it anymore. I was very toxic in the household. And now my kids are, I don't want to say thriving. They're not, they don't love it, but they're comfortable and they're in 2 peaceful homes. And anyone that's staying and trying to keep things together for the kids, back to what you're modeling, what they're seeing is what they're going to accept in relationships. And they're going to be like, well, mommies and daddies yell at each other. So I picture my 9-year-old daughter. And if someone's getting in her face, and she'd be like, this is love, this is marriage. And that is where I was like, I will not model this for her, because then she's going to seek this out or be accepting of it. And I hold her apparently in a higher regard than I hold myself.
Yeah. Well, sometimes, I mean, after my divorce, I dated this guy, Johnny Locke, shout out. And I just put up with so much shit. And I will never forget, like, the moment I was supposed to pick my kids up from school, and he was like, broke up with me and was dating the girl from Jeopardy who like turned the wheel. Oh my God. I lived in LA. And I was like, if I bring him, like, I'm going to offer to bring him coffee and then seduce him. And then I'll feel like he loves me more.
Yes.
Right. And I like kind of spaced out, and I ran a light, and like, and I was like trying to pick my kids up from school, and I was trying to get someone else to pick them up so I could go do that. And I pulled over, and I was like, what the fuck are you motherfucking doing? Like, and that was it. It was like, I have 3 daughters. I believe God gave me 3 daughters, because if I don't change myself, I will full on raise 3 daughters who are going to do this. And I'm like you, Erin, I couldn't do it for myself.
I know.
My self-respect was so low that I'd be like, I'll drive up with some coffee and fuck you. But like, I would want
but I don't want my daughter to do that.
Exactly. And so they were 100% my why. And when I am asking someone like in an enrollment call, like, why is this urgent, or why do you want to do it? Like, sometimes it takes that, like, because I don't want my kid to learn this. I don't want my kid to go through this. And so you were joking like, oh, I put them on but I think that that's okay. You got to find your why.
I had a relationship coach on recently, and he was like, if you're still in the stay or go, think about all the things that are happening that you're not really happy with, that you're accepting of. And now write someone that you respect, someone that you love. For me, I did my daughter, write their name on the top of the page and write all those things in your story. And now pretend like it's their story. So this is all happening to Amaya. And I, like, as I write it down, I was like, no. And he's like, okay, yeah, you wouldn't. So you have to go. Like, he's like, if you wouldn't let her be accepting of it, that is exactly what you're showing her. And maybe that gives permission for someone today to just, if that isn't sure, or gives them a reason, because, and I hate that. I don't want to be like, you should leave your husband. Like, I don't want to.
I don't think you're saying that. I think you're saying, so one of the things in my book is, were you radically honest? And I think that people are, the smarter you are, the more reasons you can justify putting up with shit. You know, like, and what you said is so true. Like, are your kids, are they thriving? Like, would they prefer to have like the happy fucking Beaver Cleaver household? Of course they would. But ultimately, 20 years from now, I promise you, they're going to come and be like, Mom, you did the right thing. Like, I totally get why that's what my kids did. Literally, they're in their 20s. And they were like, now that I know you guys both, like, as adults, like, there is no way
yes,
you guys should have ever been married.
How old were your kids? Like, were they similar ages, or were they understood that, like, did you file? You filed, yes? It was mutual. It was, so because it was mutual. And but when he pitched it to them, he made it be like it was my fault. So nobody pitched anything, but they see it very much as, I'm still in the house, daddy's out. So they will say, can we just have one house? Can you let daddy come back? And I did file, not that they know, but they're very much like, I made daddy leave. And so you just gave me that, like, hopefully in their 20s, they'll be like, we get it. And I'm like, no, I love daddy very much, but they don't look at it as they blame me. Because I'm still here and he had to go.
Right. Yeah. And it's the same thing. But I will never forget that moment. We were in Hawaii, we were on the beach, and they had just spent a week with him. And they were just like, that was the best thing you could have done for us.
Oh my God.
Like, just no way. And now they say things like, so when they were in high school, his was the fun house because he just doesn't have any rules.
Yeah.
And I was like the boring one that, like, you had to go to bed and you had to come home at midnight, and, you know, like, I have an alarm system. You're not sneaking out, that kind of shit. And so also later they were like, thank God you were the stable house.
Wow.
Like when we went to your house, because they would always be like, oh, Dad, it's so much more fun. Can we just stay? And I would be like, no, this is a fucking rule. It's whatever, a week on, a week off, or 3-5, or however we used to do it. And they were like, thank God you did that. Thank God you fought for that, because, you were the stable house. And I am sharing that with you because when you're in it, and they're like, Daddy's more fun, or they're just, because they're smart. They're like trying to play it against, and they'll go to the easier place, and they want to blame someone, and moms are the best to blame. Like, we just take it like, just keep shooting me.
Because you can't tell them, well, oh yeah, my daughter always says, my daddy's the sweetest. And I'm like, I know, he's so sweet. Like, you can't be like, oh yeah?
Yeah, no,
like,
you can't. You can't.
He's the sweetest.
You can't. And I went to this parenting coach when my kids were really young. And I was going through all this crap. And she said, one day, trust me, they will see the great things about their dad, and they will see the not great things about their dad. You don't have to say it. They will see it.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, I'm counting on that. And honestly, I'm really good friends with my ex now. It took a really long time, but he's like a brother to me. But he sees his flaws at this point because he's 60 something years old. But yeah, they do see it, and they're calling him out on it now because they were with me 50% of the time. And that's going to happen with you because your kids are with you 50% of the time or more. And you're this conscious, empowered, like woman that's like you're doing the things, they will be able to have those skills. I believe you can raise that kid for 50% of the time.
Thank you. A little more than 50, but thank you. Yes. I appreciate that. They do try to intentionally be like, test me and say things. And I'm like, no, I say nothing negative about him. I want us to have a great relationship. Didn't see this coming. Like I moved down here to try to bring something back out of him, bring him back to life a little. But this is where he's from in the South. And now I'm in the South and getting divorced. And now I'm trying to like rationalize that whatever's for me is here. Like my next thing. And I had to come here and just be open to what opportunities are here, relationships. I was supposed to come down here, and maybe I did it for him, but it was a part of my life plan now. And it's a little daunting to like think about like dating and stuff, but it's also like really exciting to like not know I have no idea what's going to unfold next. Like before I got a wife, I was a wife and had 2 kids, and I knew what my life would look like every day, but there's a little bit of like, let's see what's next. Like I have no idea. Am I going to start dating? I don't know. Like it's that part of it. It's a little scary because I'm a control person, but also a little exciting.
It's so exciting when you look at it like that, like, right, if this is happening for me, right, and look at all these things that I've created that I didn't know, like what you said, from just being who you are and putting your voice out in the world and your purpose, there's going to be amazing, great things.
Thank you.
Okay, I have another question for you. So you've had all these amazing experts, coaches, therapists on your show. Mm-hmm. What is the top 3 pieces of advice that blew your socks off that you would be like, hey, whoever's listening now, this is what I learned and you need to hear it?
I had a relationship coach, couples therapist on, and I don't know if it's like the blowing my mind, but I always go back to this. She's like, I kept trying to save my marriage and like appease him by being smaller and not take bigger opportunities because then it was going to hurt my marriage. And she just kind of like cuts me off and she's like, stop taking yourself down from the shelf. And she's like, Louis, I don't even know if we know the number. There's a Louis something shot, like a liquor that is top shelf. It's like $500 a shot. And she's like, who could afford, or who would ever order that? And she's like, someone that can afford it. So put yourself right back on that shelf. Stop bringing yourself down. She was like, you are Erin Top Shelf Washington. And you keep trying to put yourself down on the clearance rack to be like, no, babe, look at me. And in order to attract him back or to save my marriage, she's like, you're putting yourself on the clearance rack. And that's what I was doing. Like I was dulling myself down to make my marriage work. She's like, get back on the shelf where you belong and shine and be bright. And if he does not accept you like that, you don't bring yourself down to the clearance rack, you stay up on the top shelf. So I'm always like, top shelf, like any kind of behavior where I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like, don't be smaller to appease someone else. And it's hard because vows and kids, and you feel like you need to make it work. But if you are making yourself smaller or duller, that's not the right person. Like, and I don't understand how it would be a turnoff for my spouse to shine. Like I said, I used to be like, that's my husband.
Right.
That's an extension of me. So why wouldn't you want your spouse to do the most and be like, that's my wife. That's my pick. I gave her my last name. I can't see it differently. Why it would be like, ugh, don't be too shiny. That's my wife. Why wouldn't it be? And I didn't have that. So if you don't have that, and go back on the shelf, stop going to the clearance rack, go back where you belong, sticks out to me.
That's a great piece of advice. Write that one down, ladies. That in the order of like life check yourself. This is like, do I put myself on the top shelf? Not just in my relationships that are romantic, but with my friends at work. Like, what are the ways we're like, making ourselves small so that someone else can shine or to get their love? I think that's great. What else did you learn?
Yeah. The Kenya Moore, she was the second Black Miss USA. So she was talking about like being in pageants and all these things and body image. And she's like, I never had like what I had. Like she wasn't struggling with eating disorders, but the scale thing came from that conversation. Cause she's like, I'm just had a habit of stepping on the scale every time I got in the shower. And it wasn't even like, oh no, or reactions, but it was habit. And she said, one day I was in the shower and I see my 4-year-old and she's on the scale. And like looking down, she was like, no, ma'am. And she's like, but she just does what I do. Like I'm the model for it. And that kind of like sparked my talk on that because it wasn't even a big deal for her. Like she didn't have a big body image problem. It was just a habit. But that girl is following what her mom did. So it's shower time. We get on the scale. And she was like, I saw her on there. It was like, no scale, like done. Katie Couric gave me parenting advice because I just kept saying, you were the host of the Today Show. You had 2 young girls. And I said, I'm doing this right now with you. And I have a little curly haired boy who is in the window and I have all this guilt. And she was like, oh, get rid of that. She's like, no, they want to see you shine. They want to see that their mom can, like, she gave me permission. Cause I was like, I'm always like, one second, buddy. And I want to show him that I will stop what I'm doing because you're most important. She was like, no, ma'am. She's like, you do the show. It is important. And mommy helps people. So she kind of like reframed that for me. And she's like, make him a part of it. Like bring him over to the microphone. Like don't hide it. But I always thought I had to show him, you are the most important thing. Mommy's going to stop recording right now. And she was like, oh, stop. Like she was like disgusted. She goes, no. And then she said, the worst thing that you could be is like a parent that's on top of that child all the time. And she's like, just do you, they will see that. And she's like, I hope my daughter, she said her daughter grew up, I don't know, her daughter's in like her 30s now. And she was like, Mom, I'm so proud of the work that you're doing for colorectal cancer. And she was like, thank you. And she's like, she was watching all of it. And it wasn't, I was in my head about guilt, but she was like, enough, like, don't stop. Don't show them that I'm going to stop what I'm doing. Show them that mommy's work is important. And that was so foreign to me until she said, I'm kind of like, oh, hold on. But like, I just got divorced and I want him to feel so loved.
There's that you're like, wait, are you depleted? Let me fill you up. Yeah.
But she was like, no, you stop recording and tell him. And she's like, no, you tell him what mommy's doing is important and mommy helps people. And I was like, okay, Katie Couric, like if you're saying it, okay. She was like, no, I didn't have guilt. Yeah. So like giving me permission to like, again, be on the top shelf, step fully into your purpose and why you are here and dulling that down for anything else. I've also done a lot of inner child stuff. And I have learned recently, I don't know how this didn't come up first, that I am parenting 3 children, not 2.
Oh, yourself.
I have to attune to little Erin. And he was like, this psychologist was like, every time you're reactive to your daughter or she hits something, that's little Erin, like, no, not fair. And you have to attune to that person. And that just brought me to like, if I'm dulling this down or I stop the nonprofit stuff or stop doing the show to appease my husband and not that he's telling me to stop, but to make my marriage better. What a disservice that would be to little Erin, who went through all of that stuff to not see it through and create and help people to just, I'm like leaving her behind and not, so it's like attuning to your kids, but also attuning to your inner child and making them feel heard. And every time you're triggered, I always thought like my inner voice, I was like, my inner voice is kind of a bitch. Like she's real mean. Right. And he's like, that's that little you. And it's like, no. Or when I'm really attuning to my child. And if I feel something, it's because my inner child was like, I didn't get that with mom. And you have to just I love doing my show. It feels very indulgent that I get to just work through all these things. Like I had you on and ask all my questions, and hopefully the premise is that it will help other people, but I get to just do all this work with like people that I never would have been able to connect with. And again, I have a mental health podcast and I used to throw up my food. Like you can pivot and it doesn't matter like what you're in now. And again, if you haven't found profound purpose, look at what you're in now or whatever was dark. It could be that. And when you share it, you create a community and then you feel purpose helping those people that are still in it. Then it all makes sense. Nothing was in vain. It's like, oh, okay, because now I do this. And if you were with someone that doesn't see that, get back on the top shelf and stop taking yourself to the clearance rack.
Oh my God. I'm going to get you like a shirt that says, I'm on the top shelf.
Whatever that shot at. Louis something. 13.
I don't drink either, so I have no idea. So both of us are like, I don't know, but it's probably in a really pretty cool bottle. Looks.
I'm going to be honest, I haven't found full sobriety yet. A lot of it is like, if I have a beer, I'm like, I messed up the days and I'm working through that too. And it's like, I drink significantly less than I ever have, but it's not sober. It's not perfect.
Well, I think, aren't you talking about figuring out what moderation or what works for you? And I think that that's part of the discovery.
Yes. It's not even I think I used to drink in moderation. I would have a drink every day, but I had to have my glass of wine or I had to have my beer. And that to me was moderation. I don't do that anymore. So it's like so minimal, but I will have a nice glass of wine if I'm out somewhere. Like I haven't found that it's not in my life.
Was it taking you away from your ability to be present?
No,
to just enjoy?
No, it's just annoying that I can't just be done.
That's the old
that it's
control,
still
Erin.
I know.
You're like, I know. I can restrict this now. Yay!
I know.
Right?
It feels restrictive. It goes back to my mess when I'm like, no, it's off limits. I have to know that I can, if I go to a steakhouse and somebody gets a very nice bottle of wine and I love a Cabernet, that I'm not going to be like, no, I don't drink. Like I can have a glass of wine. It doesn't lead to like 3 for me, but it still is something that I'm getting like these hits that it's like, you need to stop drinking. So I'm disappointed that I can't just stop.
I was so fascinated about this. We need to go back in your show, break that down.
Okay.
Right? Like, because I don't know if it's like what that hit is. Is it the part of you that hasn't restricted in so long that's trying to find something to restrict? Or is it actually the part of you that is trying to have you express more of yourself and drinking is in the way? I don't know. Drinking
is making me a worse, like I am a way better version of myself without alcohol in my life. It's so funny the timing. I don't know when this is going to come out, but Chrissy Teigen has a podcast and she had on Quit Like a Woman author. Cause I guess Chrissy was sober for 2 years. And then I just listened to this morning. She was like, I started drinking again. And she's like, the girl's like, it's okay. And she's like, I am so embarrassed. I feel so much shame. And everything she was saying, I was like saying out loud, like, yes, yes. She's like, I hate that it has a hold over me and I can't just stop. And I was like, her journey is exactly, I've never done 2 years. I made it like 2 months, but then I will have a glass. It's not like I go back to binge drinking, but how she was describing it, like, I feel like I'm letting everyone down. It's like, wait, I thought you were sober. And now I'm not.
Letting down like her.
Or me on my show saying I'm sober now. And then I have a drink. It's like we both hold ourselves too high of a standard. Like nobody cares that much main character energy, but how she was describing it, I was like, that is exactly like, it's over now. And why can't I just be normal and just not have to even think about alcohol? And the way she described it, I felt seen. So she's like, I'm drinking again and I hate it. And I had 2 years and now I'm like, she just felt so defeated and I got it. Like, I feel the same way. Like I can't get there.
Deep. That's deep shit. I love it. I call it new level, new devil. Right. Yes. Like you only now you don't know what you don't know. And so now you've opened yourself up to this greater expression and experiment around what really is the fullest. And I think my higher self, like when you up level, in order to up level, it's like, I'm getting the guidance to stop drinking. And it's been like a couple of years and it's been easier this time. Like it's not in the house. Like I've made so many changes, but it is once in a while a thing that is still in my life. And
it frustrates me that I can't just, I don't know. I think I do. It is a little bit about the restriction. If it's off limits, like that's too much for me because I don't want to go back to rules and drinking days. And it's just, I want it to just be like, I can have it if I want. It's very rare, but that's where we're at right now. I don't know. I'm on a journey.
You're totally on the journey.
So many journeys.
I know there's so many journeys. Life is a journey.
Co-parenting, divorce, sobriety journey.
That's life. So like, here's the thing. Like I did this talk for a bunch of 26-year-olds the other night, and they were like, if you could give us one piece of advice, what would it be? And I was like, my dad told me that every 5 years, your life is going to change. It's going to look in a way you could never have imagined. And I said to them, like, give yourself permission to grow and evolve and pivot. Because you don't know what's coming and you don't know, have a goal and have a vision, but also give yourself permission to follow what is happening. And that could help you express more of who you are sooner in your life rather than having to wait for some crisis or wake up call.
I love that. If I were talking to them, I'd tell them to get their ass off the clearance rack.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like my kids hang out with girls that are very top shelf.
Yeah.
But when I used to go speak to sororities when they were all in college, and I would talk to this room of like 70 girls, and it was really hurt my heart to see how they were struggling, and the things that their moms told them, and the fact that they were just shutting down their emotions and just trying to get good grades, and how they were normalizing just hooking up. And like, there's just so much going on. And I think it's never been harder to be young than
that's why I created my foundation. It's for teen girls who are struggling with this. And can you imagine, I don't know how much you struggle, but there was no social media. Can you imagine now where they're scrolling like, oh my God, if I could just starve myself a little bit more. And I'm like, no, ma'am, she is sitting in a very contorted way. There are 30 other pictures in her camera roll that don't look like that. She posted the one, and you're going to ruin your day because you don't look like that. She doesn't look like that either. It's lighting and it's editing and it's postures. And I didn't have that to compare myself to. And I was a mess.
I know. So I'm so glad you did that. I'm going to put a link to your foundation. Oh, for sure. Thanks. I would like to know.
I would like for you to speak to my girls.
I would love it. I'm mentoring a 14-year-old now through a program in my town. And it's like she's struggling. It's really, really, really hard. But it's cute. She said to me, we were playing a card game, and one of the questions was, who knows you the best? And so she asked me, what if nobody knows me the best? Nobody will ever know me. And I was like, can I ever know you? And she goes, you'll never know me. And I was like, well, that's harsh. Yeah. Anyway, and then some time passed, and so we hung out last Tuesday. And we had a really nice day. We sat on the river and we played Uno, and it was really cute. Anyway, and then I'm going on a trip, and I was like, oh, are you going to miss me? I'm going to miss you. And then I said, by the way, when you told me that you didn't want me to ever know you, it kind of hurt my heart, like, because we're having a relationship. So she's like, well, I have trust issues. I was like,
oh, at 14.
Yes. And she's like, well, I have trust issues. And I was like, cool. Well, like, we don't have to be my best friend, but like, can we have a relationship where there's like a wedge of possibility to grow? And she was like, yeah. And then she's like, I'm really sorry to hurt your feelings. And it was so cute.
Yes. I love that.
And that's what I want to teach these kids to do, right? Like, we talk about our feelings, we make mistakes, we let people know how we're feeling. We don't have to be perfect. I'd love to talk to your kids. I love
that. Is exactly what we do, middle school and high school girls, and we just do it in different cities. So absolutely. Like, you and I would be honored to have you come.
I love it. Ladies, okay, first of all, you have to follow Erin on Instagram. Do you still do your lives, or is that a thing of the past?
No, it's a podcast now. I mean, now it's
it's therapy. It's really fun. You listen to the most amazing experts. I was on the show, but Erin is so real, as you can see, and so raw. And she really is every woman's woman. Whatever phase of life you're in, there's so much value. So definitely check that out. You can follow her on Instagram. Thank you for being my friend, for coming on this show. I'm so glad that we connected and met. And you are witty, smart, funny.
I'm a good friend.
Fun.
Have you seen the help? Have you seen the help? You is kind, you is smart, and you is important.
Yes, and your energy. Yes, and your energy is amazing. So I'm so glad that you're here, ladies. I mean, this episode is life check. You're full. Like there's just so much. Like you could just hit that little rewind button and write something down. If you know someone who's struggling with divorce, co-parenting, body image, mental health, share this episode with them. Tell them you love them. It is always your responsibility to life check yourself. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now. Today, listen, if you're feeling stuck, I want you to know you're not alone and you don't have to settle for it. I've created a free quiz to help you pinpoint what's draining your energy and exactly how you can fix it. So head over to decodeyourdestinyquiz.com and take the 60-second quiz right now. That's decodeyourdestinyquiz.com. And if you're ready to dive deeper, you can book a free no-obligation consultation at marnibatista.com/private coaching. That's Marni, M-A-R-N-I, Batista, B-A-T-T-I-S, as in Sam, T-A.com/private coaching, all one word. Let's take the first step to creating a life you love on your terms. I'm Marni, and I'll see you next time.